Welcome to Juneau, Alaska. Today's flight is part 3 of a 5-part series of the most challenging airports to land an airplane at, as reported by real pilots in the United States. Let's take a look at this airport and see what makes it real challenging. I think if you hang out with this flight, you'll gain a little bit of insight about the mountainous terrain. Setting up the instruments here, we're going to use GPS as well as our navigation, radio navigation, and most of the time I will be hand flying this in utilizing some IFR procedures. So hang with me. I think towards the end we'll find out what makes this the most challenging airport to land at, or one of the top 5, I guess, and I have a feeling it has to do with weather conditions. I have a feeling it might do with the mountainous terrain, maybe a drive and dive. So we're going to be looking at a standard instrument departure, and then on our return, after our procedure turn inbound, we're going to fly the LDA to runway 8. So at that point, or this point, let's go ahead and take a look at Juneau, Alaska here on a VFR sectional. So this will just be the quick introduction, looking at the VFR chart, and then we'll look at the standard instrument departure chart, and then we will take a look at the approach plate coming into the airport. Okay, it's all important stuff, and let's go to that right now. Okay, and as you see here, here's our VFR chart. Here is Juneau. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. I had to look it up actually. Juneau International, Papa Alpha Juliet November. It is nestled in here by the water, surrounded by some mountainous terrain, and it looks like we're in Class D airspace. We have the magenta lines that go around, which brings controlled airspace down to what I believe is 700 feet on the inside of it, and then Class E airspace is going to be 1,200 on the outside of that ring, and then of course with Class D airspace, this is going to bring the controlled airspace down to the surface. Okay, we have a couple things. We do have a nav aid here. It's an NDB. NDB, and that's Colgan Island. We do have another NDB that's part of the approach that can be used. That's Elephant. And then we have a VOR, that's Sisters Island VOR. And then also we're going to have the localizer frequency. I think that's 19.9. Okay, so here is the water, here is the terrain, and we're looking at some of the altitudes, 6,300 in here. Magnetic disturbance of 170 degrees or more exist at ground level in this vicinity. I wonder what that has to do. Probably some local mining or something like that. There's some glider activity. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that today. And other than that, let's go ahead and take a look now at the standard instrument departure. This is the ASORT 2 departure. Here is the airport, and we are going to be taking off on runway 8. It looks like a right turn out to about a heading of 279 direct to Colgan Island NDB on a frequency of 212. We'll for surely set that up into our NDB a unit there, and then we have the localizer of 109.9er. We also have that Elephant NDB down here, that's 391. We'll set that into standby. And then we have the Sisters Island VOR 114.0. And the outbound course is going to be 251. I created a procedure turn or a holding pattern also at Cushy on the approach that I'll put into the Garmin, but we're gonna use the procedure turn on there. So let's take a look at departure route description. Takeoff runway 8. So if you pull this ASORT 2 departure for Juneau, Alaska, climbing right turn as soon as practicable. There you go. Climb in visual conditions, so we have to be VFR, or visual conditions. Can't be in the clouds. To CG, to Charlie Golf Lima NDB, which is here, or heading 279 degrees to the marker at Juliet Delta Lima, which is also right there, is 2 DME. So if we have 0.9er in there, when that localizer centers up and we're at 2 DME, that's going to be the marker. Okay, west course / 2 DME. Visual conditions must be maintained from takeoff until established over Colgan Island NDB, or the 2 DME mark there from the localizer. And at or above 1,000 feet MSL. Thence we continue outbound to 251 degrees, going west and right around Cushy. Let's bring up our LDA approach now. I'm sure you'll pull these plates up. I'm getting them off of SkyVector. As you see, we did our right turn out on the standard instrument departure. We flew the localizer or the bearing from CGL going outbound, which is 251. I put the procedure turn further out, which is at Cushy, and we're going to utilize 8,000 feet in there and do our procedure turn, and then we'll fly this inbound. Okay, we've got all of our frequencies there. We're going to be at 8,000 feet in here. Once we turn inbound, we'll descend down to 6,300 feet, and then we have 5,600. Then we have 3,700. Barlow at the final approach fix. Our MDA is going to be straight in 3,200 feet with 4 miles at the 2 DME mark. We must be visual at that point to proceed to the runway there. Okay, if we're going to circle 3,200 feet at 4 again, circling to runway 26, not approved at night. Okay, circling north of runway 826. Missed approach. There's that climbing right turn, and we're going to go back to the bearing outbound, which is 310 degrees, and then we pick up a bearing of 251 on out to the VOR there, and you can see our holding pattern down here, Sisters Island, and you'll see the radial of 027. So there's a lot going on here. Hey, welcome back to Juneau, Alaska. We're all set up here. I'm going to go ahead and start the airplane. Our whole goal on this one, we're going to depart off of the standard instant departure, and we're going to go into another location. I'll land there real quick. You won't see that part. I need to pick up some hunting supplies and some camping supplies. Since we're in Alaska, I've got my camouflage pants on. Also, I've got my my hunting knife with me if we need to bushwhack and survive out there for protection, cutting firewood, whatever we need to handle any kind of situation. Also, I have my flight jacket on. I've got some orange in there. That way, if for some reason if we're stranded, and of course we have our winter hats. This is an orange hat there, just in case. So I'll put a little realism into this sucker. Well, on that point, I'm going to go ahead and get the airplane set up. Again, you've seen all these startup procedures. Feel free to fast forward to the next thing. I'm going to go ahead and remove the yoke. I check my fuel selectors. For some reason lately, the Baron seems to want to have the fuel selectors in the off position. I'll put them in the on position. Okay. We did all our checks. Gear handle is down, flaps are up, cow flaps are open. We're ready. Battery switch is on. And let's make ignition is off. Let's go ahead and bring our mixtures forward. And I'm going to throw on the fuel pumps. Let's give us some throttle. Fuel flow has increased. Let's go ahead and turn the fuel pumps off. It's kind of cold. I just find it's easier to start with the mixtures down. And let's look out here to the left-hand side, and windows open. And clear prop. Good enough. That's closed up. And let's start the left engine. pressure's good. Left alternator on. And the right engine. Throttle's back. Mixture's down. Okay, nav lights are on, avionics on, NDV is on, DME is on, transponder standby. Clearance gave us a squawk code 5140. Enter. Self-test, enter. I'm going to go ahead and enter my flight plan right now. There it is. Let's go up one. Enter. Good, and the last thing I want to do here, I want to remove the airport from the body of the plan, so let's highlight, because the approach inbound is going to have that for runway 8. On OK, let's go ahead and clear. Do I want to? Enter. Yes. Now, do have that here. I know I'm going to do that departure, so I'm going to go ahead and select procedure, select departure, enter, ASORT 2, okay, that works for me, enter, and that should do it. Let's go ahead and enter. Back to flight plan. I like to look at my little, take a look at the centered map here. Let's get a little closer by hitting the down button. And you can see there's that turn outbound to the, there's IJDL. Okay, and also that NDB is there. And there we go. You can see there's that magenta arc. That's the one we're looking at. That's more of a missed approach right there. But the one with magenta is a GPS that we're going to use to fly this outbound. Okay. Let's take a look at our departure. Nope, wrong one. Right, let's start looking at this. We're going to be looking at 212 for the NDB and 109.9 for the localizer. Alright, so 212, actually I have 212 in there. Let's take a look at nav number 1. And we can start putting these frequencies. I'm going to cheat a little bit here, so I'm going to go to my frequency page, which is page 1 and like paragraph 6. There we go. Let's go ahead and get our ATIS. So I'm going to hit enter. Highlight that first, hit enter. That's going to go into standby mode. Let's put that up to
55 Zulu Special. Arriving runway 08. Departing runway 08. Wind 090 degrees 7 knots. Visibility 10 miles. Snow. Sky conditions. View at 900. Scattered at 4,000. Temperature -4. Dew point -6. Altimeter 2954. Advise on initial contact. You have information hotel.
Okay, we got information hotel. next thing we do, we want to get our
Juneau
clearance,
International
so that's gonna
Information
be on
Hotel,
ground control also.
1355 Zulu Special. Arriving runway 08. Departing runway 08. Wind 09 or 0 degrees 7 knots.
Okay, so we're with clearance and say we got our clearance out of here, and they gave us the standard instrument departure. Once that's complete, the next frequency we're going to be using is ground, which is still the same, so we'll leave that right there. But I know on my way out, departure is 133.9, so I might as well put that in my standby mode and hit enter. And there it is, 133.9. At that point, I want to put this back to nearest airport. Or I mean the flight plan. Oops. Unhighlight that. Do that. And I like that. Very good. Okay, we got 212 into the NDB. We got 19.09 into the nav 81. Take a look at the rest of this approach. Departure. We have Elephant in there, 391. Our sister's island VOR, 114.0. The first radial we're going to see off that VOR is 027. So let's go ahead and put that in there. So what do we got? 114.0 and 027. So nav 81. Looks like I already have that in there. Then I have 1099 as the backup and 027 10 27. Very good. And then since we're GPS, it wants us to put in 078. So let's go ahead and move this to 078. Right about 078. Then I always like to have my heading bug right up there with that in case I have to go to heading mode. And there we go. I think we're pretty good. We're going to climb out of here. We're going to do that right turn to the NDB and fly it outbound. At that point, let's start taxiing. I'm going to go ahead and turn my storm or my radar on here. So let that test. And taxiway light goes on. Fuel pumps are on. Ground lean. Looking good. Parking brake comes off. Looks like the taxi parking aprons are full of ice. We know we're pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and check my DME. Nav number 1. I'm going to check my ADF first for the NDB. Remember, the NDB is the station and the ADF is the unit here. That's all. I doubt we're going to get nav number 2, but I'll just leave that on for it to come on its own. Let's do our run-ups, and last thing I do want to check. Yep, that showed for the I for the localizer, and I remember that was right. We didn't check that one. We have this one set in there, and we're good. Our outbound heading, once we get to that, is 251. Well, for me to remember that, I'm going to go ahead and put this into the NDB instrument just to remind me. 251. Be looking for 8,000 feet. All right, let's do our cliff checks, get this thing started and rolling. I know I have ice on the runway. So, compass, lights, instruments, flaps. Letter C is, and let's take a look at circuit breakers. Our all in and checked. All in and checked. Cow flaps are open and there's no clutter on the floor. Cliff check. L for lights. L for latches. Seatbelts and windows. Looking pretty good. And lunch if you want to bring lunch. And compass lights instruments, we're looking 0 on the airspeed indicator. Straight and level. That is indicating the direction to the NDB, which I know it is ahead of us. That's straight and level. We have our outbound courses going for the runway. Altimeter is we have the correct setting in there. 0 for the vertical speed indicator. Instruments are in the green with all that kinds. Switches are all instruments are set. I'm going to go ahead and put my heat on for the windshield. I'm also going to turn on my pitot heat. Left and right. Autopilot is off. Yaw damper is off. Prop sync is off. I'm going to check my prop amperage for de-icing. The amperage came up. And also I'm going to check my surface. You can see the de-ice pressure. The boots are expanding. Pressure is now released, and that should go back to that. We're good there. Compass lights, instruments, and communications. We do want to communicate our transponder setting. Okay, there we go. Cliff check for flaps. We're going to go ahead. Flaps are going to be to flaps 1. And fuel. We've got half tanks on each side, so that's plenty of fuel. Gas is on. We did check that. Fuel pumps, I'm going to go put those on. Undercarriage, we do verify that gear handle is in a down position. Mixtures will go forward and props are forward. Let's switch over to tower frequency now. Ooh, what is that frequency? Oh, we didn't put tower in. 118.7. Enter. And there it is. Let's go there. Now we got tower in. Let's go ahead and put departure back in there. And departure's there also. Okay, very good. We are ready for takeoff. Brake check. We do have some ice on the runway. I have no idea how this takeoff is going to happen. Well, I kind of do. Turn coordinator goes to the left. Ball goes to the right. Turn coordinator goes to the right. Ball goes left. Heading indicator does reflect the change, so we're good there. Attitude indicator stays pretty stabilized. Well, let's get going. Let's see what makes this one of the most challenging airports to land at. Alive. Instruments in the green. Going into full power. 80 knots. VR, rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Feet, flaps up. Nav number 2's coming in. Right turn as soon as practical. Okay, let's do it now. Climb power set. See our NDB starting to come in here. We also have feet. Tower hands us off to departure. And we said that was about 279 going direct to the NDB. See what that gives us on our NDB indicator. Looks it like it's about 5 degrees to the left. So I'm going to do a left turn, about 10 degrees since I'm pretty close. Wait for that offset, and that will be getting me directly to the NDB once this is 5 degrees over. Well, 261 now, 265 yet. 4,000. Let's do our climb checks. Lights are off. Prop sinks go on. We're getting very close to the station. 279. Yellow damper on. There's 279, approximately 4,500. Direct to the beacon. DME is 1.251. There's a beacon. This plane's got a little bit of a left turning tendency. So at that point, our outbound heading is going to be 251. We're on GPS, so we can follow the localizer out. 6,000. A little bit off there, forgot to swing that around. Watching out for the VOR here. Getting close, 251 going outbound, 1,000 feet to go. In the clouds. Watching for ice. Temperature is go. Just in case I'm going to clear my boots. Now we're at 8,000 feet. Let's get into our cruise section. Too much going on with this outbound leg. Pretty much if you're hand flying it, there's a lot going on. It's a climbing right turn to that NDB. Then we're tracking that outbound bearing of 251. A little bit over. If I were looking at this, I'm about 10 degrees off maybe at the most, 5 degrees. I'm outbound here. We did cross over that fix right now. We should be around 8,000 feet. Starting to get some of the mountainous terrain in view here. I don't know if we have a right scene view and a left scene view for a little while. Okay, there we are. Trimmed out. Let's do our cruise check. Lights are off. Gear is up. Flaps are up. Fuel pumps will go off one at a time. And let's go ahead and lean out our fuel. Let's take a look at our cow flaps down here. Let's go ahead and close those. If I can. And back up to the airplane. Back up to 8,000 feet. Let's check our outbound leg here. Next radial is going to be Cushy, or I'm sorry, yeah, Cushy at 311, and then we do have 186 bearing there from Elephant, and then we also have a 14 DME. All right, let's see where we're at. There's 14 DME. Lens. Get back on course. 8,000 feet, hand flying. Cruise checks, lights, gear, flaps, power, mixture, props, ice. Looking good. Getting a little view of the mountains over here. And take a look at that real quick. Back on course. Back up to 8,000. So there you go. That's the challenging part. Getting yourself set to this outbound leg on a standard instrument departure. And let's see, I mean, if we were going somewhere, which we are, to go pick up our hunting supplies and some camping supplies with our Baron, and then we're going to come back in. Well, we're going to do some camping while we're out there, and then we'll come back and we'll pick it up on the approach back in. 18 DME, 8,000 feet. So we're going to go out to Cushy, which is 26 at DME. We're going to convert this into a procedure turn for the localizer back in when the time comes. 311 is going to be Cushy. Let me put that into still have 26 miles. Alright, everything's looking good. Temperature outside is well, 0 degrees Fahrenheit. This left turning tendency. Sorry, folks. Let's get back here to our LDA. We are out of the clouds. The air is pretty dry up here. Waiting for 311, 26 DME. Heading is 270. I can put that in there, make it like an RNAV. Bearing from the station is 250. Going back is 070. Back into that. Suicide Glacier this way. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Okay, we're coming up to Cushy now. I'm going to go ahead and put my yoke on because I'm going to need to use my timer. 26.2, so do our 5 Ts. Turn, yes. Heading 206. Time, yes. .206. 8,000 feet. Turn, yes. Time, yes. Twist, yes. We're going to twist in the inbound course, which is 071. Feet. We are on a procedure turn right now. Turn time, twist, throttle. Just leave our throttles right around 17 or so. Props will keep them where they're at. There's 1 minute, so it's going to be a right turn now to 026. Yes, 026. Time. Timer's still going. I'll just call it 2 minutes at the end of the turn. Twist, we've already got that taken care of. Turn time, twist, throttle, and top. And we'll let an approach know that we are procedure turn inbound heading up 07. Something like that. Okay, looking at 026. And I could put my heading bug onto 26 right there if I wanted to. Close. Altitude's a little high. Yeah, we'll downdrafts. Okay, we are going to switch over to localizer, which we probably won't have it just yet, so we can hang on to the GPS for a minute here. And that wind apparently has blown us through the numbers. No, we're pretty close. Let's go ahead. We're going to be 8,000. So now that we're inbound, we can come down to, if you have your chart out, the LDA 8 into Juneau, Alaska, we can come down to 6,300. And be hold that to 18 DME. So let's go ahead and start descending. Turn, time, twist, throttle, talk. Looking for 6,300. I'm going to go over to the localizer now. I'm just going to use my ADF for that. It looks like it's about 10 degrees to the left, so I'm going to go 20 degrees. And 5-1, 7,000 for 6,300. Let's check our inbound course now. Still have an Navmap for 6.3. Okay, let's turn to 071. Our pointer looks like it's pretty close. We're pretty far away from the beacon at 24, so we're still waiting for the localizer to come alive. That way we can get a more precise course, but at this point, I'm on 071. My compass is showing 071. My pointer's 5 degrees to the right. That's okay. All right, and as looking at your chart, you'll see that at 18 DME, we can come down to start to 5,600 feet, but right now we have to hold at 6,300 feet. Localizer's starting to pop alive. I'm getting some updrafts here and some downdrafts again. Pointer is a little bit to the right. I'm just going to make a correction to the right. And it looks like the local... downdraft. Wow. Let's get back to 6,300. I'm telling you, it just pushes you down. There's 8-1. Wow, another downdraft. I'm watching that localizer. We'll get her back. Localizer should be coming steady. Wow. Okay, we're going to come in with more power because we're getting the downdraft here. It's like wind shear. Now I got the up. Woo. Okay, the localizer flag is out. Put my pointer back to the top. Wings level, looking for 6,300 if I can fight this wind. Or even holding in extra power. down to 56. There's 18 coming up. I don't think I'll ever get down, but these winds are pushing me down like this. This is a challenge. Now maybe this is one of the challenges. There's 17. We can drop down now. Looking for 5,600 feet. Another downdraft. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my yokes here. Okay, we're 15 DME now. 14 DME, we can go down to 3,700 feet on localizer. There's a lot going on here. That's going to be Barlow, or winds to Barlow, 56. And there's 1,400 feet. Getting knocked all over the place here. We can come down to 37. Airspeed looks, I'm going to come with a little more power out. Trying to pick up that localizer. I'm just looking for about a 500 foot ready descent. I know in one of my videos I talked about how to achieve that, but when you're talking and flying and you have these ups, downs, and sideway pushes, everything, this is incredible. 3,700 feet. Trying to get myself stabilized here. Barlow is going to be on the 027 radial. I'm going to switch this over. Drafts and the down drafts coming up to 4,000. Breaking out of the clouds a bit, that's good. Snow on the localizer, no flags. Localizer frequency. DME, let's just check that because we could use that for our Mr. Approach. Okay, 500 feet to go. At 8 DME, we can come down to our minimum descent altitude of 3,200 feet with 4 miles visibility. Okay, there's 37. Let's prepare for that. Okay, localizer, I'm getting a good signal. DME, I'm getting a good signal. Might as well check our ADF. 37 up to 8, then we can go down to 32. I'm inside 8, we're going down to 32. I'm going to take some power out. I'm going to go flaps 1. Put my gear down. Put my landing lights on. And I think with the icy runway, we're going to try to stabilize at about 100 knots down for a landing so that we can probably touch down around, say 85 with 4 flaps. Looking for 32. Let's turn off that ADF. And carry this to 2 miles. Downdraft. Power. there's that hill. Guess I might have gotten a little bit low because I'm out here on the outside of the airplane. Let's get back up. Let's get back on course. See, that's me messing around. Starting to see the runway. Runway's in view. I do have the runway. There's the outer marker. At this point, I'm going to go visual and see if we can find this runway through all this snow. Now, one thing is we have a mountain range right in front of us. There it is, right there. Okay, so we have to wait to cross over that. That's probably the big challenge because our MDA, here we are, 32. We got to go down to 25 feet. So at this point, I'm going to start bringing my power back. Flaps come in. This is the dive and drive. And there's that mountain range right there. Too low. So you can't start descending until you have a runway in sight. Okay, 3 green. Gears down. Flaps are full. Mixtures full. Props are forward. We need to work on the PAPI now. Here's that mountain range we were talking about. Bleed off some of the airspeed. Keep about 90. And we're crossing over the hill. And we can come down. Let's pick up on the glide path here. And runway with the crosswind. Let's not let the airspeed build up too much as we come in. Okay. I'm starting to sweat. Okay, one last check. Gear is down. Flaps are down. We are in tower. We're clear to land. Airspeed about 80. Or I mean about 90 is what I want here. And the runway is covered with ice. Let's make sure we're very straight. Start slowing the plane down. Minimum braking. Steering with the rudder. Minimum braking. Oop, there's a little slip. Let's start bringing our flaps up. Back to center line. Radar to standby. Transponder standby. Prop sync off. torpedo heat off. Exit runway. Column 2. Yep, there we go. And we are cleared. Okay, we're going to stop the airplane here. Well, we'll keep taxiing. If you feel like to finish it up, we're just going to park on the apron over there. Well, once again, there you go. You can see the hills in front of us. Fuel pumps can go off. Ground mixture set. And that's what makes it a challenging airport to land at, especially when the visibility is like that and you cannot see the runway or make it out. Very good. Especially difficult with the snow that was on the runway. I could barely see it. And then I had that a little bit of break from the localizer there, and I went down a little bit low, but we had some room. 3,200 feet. I went down a little 200 feet below the MDA, but we came back up because we wanted to make sure we could see that hill. Once we got across the hill, then we had to dive down. Then we had to manage our energy. We had to make sure that our airspeed didn't increase too much, and especially to land on an ice-laden runway where we're not going to use any braking with the pedals. Trying to touch down as the minimum airspeed that we could. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up if you would, and then you know, feel free to subscribe. It's free. You can always unsubscribe, but we don't like unsubscribers. But you can always come back and view. I want to thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this part 3 of the most challenging airports to land at. And I think that this one was even much more challenging because of the weather. I was kind of wholly expecting maybe some VFR conditions, but looking in the news, this is X-Plane. I'm using real weather, what they're showing now. And here in Juneau, Alaska, as reported by the news media, they have over 7 foot of snow on the ground that they'd accumulated over this month of December. And now I hear that the temperatures are going to warm up. They're still going to have the moisture in the air. It's going to turn to rain, so that's going to present a lot more difficulties for the residents there in Juneau, Alaska. So, you know, keep your thoughts on those people, and we wish them the best because now they have all this snow, and then next thing you know, they're going to have all the flooding. So, okay, again, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Go ahead and leave my parking brake off.